All right, it's that time again. So on Nasdaq today, what am I looking for? Well, yesterday we had a major run. I think based off the earnings from Nvidia and whatnot, which were coming out yesterday evening. But for today, what am I looking for? So to start off with, when you can see such a big break of structure, we finally, if I go to a higher time frame, we finally broke out of this range, which we'd been sat in for the better part of a week, and taken out this buy side liquidity, which I've been talking about for the past few days. However, we've still left another level. We got 2513, which has still been left, and so I'd like to see that get taken still, and that would be kind of my target of, okay, now we've taken out the bumps in the road, possibly could be expecting the market to come back down. So I'm not finished yet on looking for longs, but what was left from yesterday was this big buy side imbalance, which hasn't really been filled at all. So in an ideal scenario for me, I'd want us to see some manipulation lower earlier on in the session. We got this low, this small low here at the 12 o'clock candle. Then we have Asia low beneath that, and then we have this big imbalance. So in an ideal scenario, we'd run lower, reject, get a swing failure pattern, a bullish swing failure pattern at this low, and then we can look for longs into 2513. And also, if I go to a lower time frame, you can see we've still got a new day opening gap. So that would be the most ideal thing. Although alternatively, if we ran higher and grabbed London high and then had a swing failure, a bearish swing failure, then you could look for shorts, but that wouldn't be favorable because I wouldn't want to be shorting beyond the Asia low. Once the Asia low has been taken out, I wouldn't want to be in any short positions because, yeah, I mean, okay, we have a 4-hour liquidity low marked out over here, but when you get such a bullish impulse, like trying to short into that, I don't think's favorable. You know, when the momentum is so clearly going one way, I don't think you want to be calling the top of a market and then trying to sell from there. So the most favorable thing for me would be manipulation underneath Asia low and into this imbalance, reject it, and then get into a long after that. ES is pretty much the exact same thing, although on ES we haven't taken out the high over here, which we had on Nasdaq. I wouldn't necessarily view that as an SMT, more than just S&P 500 and Nasdaq not being exactly in sync. I wouldn't say that's necessarily a SMT and therefore a bearish confluence. But same thing with ES. A run lower to some of these ascending lows would be lovely, and then a rejection into a long position would be nice. Looking at gold's in a bit of a weird spot too, where after this 4-hour low was ran out on Tuesday afternoon, we spent Tuesday evening and much of Wednesday coming higher, filling this sell side imbalance and grabbing internal liquidity before we then dumped Wednesday evening, taking out some of these lows hanging in the middle. And now we have been pushing back up, came down underneath Asia low, and then had a bullish swing failure pattern here at the 12 o'clock candle. For me, gold's price action isn't the best, although I think longs are still possible with these descending highs, and maybe that's something you could look at. I'm not against it at all, but I don't think this price action is as clean as I'd like. However, I do think a long wouldn't be the worst idea because of this 1-hour swing failure pattern. So that is something you could look out for. Although, I don't know, probably not going to be getting into too much. So that is gold, not the cleanest, therefore not the most appealing thing to be trading. Now, looking at the euro, as I've been saying for the past however long, shorts are just mainly the same thing. You can trade these short-term buys whenever we take out more and more liquidity, although I think, generally speaking, if you want to be on the right side of probability, going in the same direction as what the macro trend is, I think makes kind of more sense. But having said that, we grabbed in Asia session, some of this internal liquidity above Monday and Tuesday highs. Then we did get a 4-hour fractal structure break. If I go to the 4-hour time frame here, so one could expect the market to push lower, although we do have a lot of these descending highs over here. So again, the dollar pairs being gold and euro being the two that I look at, I don't think they give the price action just isn't amazing. I think there's a lot of liquidity on both buy side and sell side liquidity. So it's just not something I like trading when it's kind of like that. I always try and find a cleaner market. But going back to NASDAQ as just a final thing to wrap it up, one thing I think I did forget to mention, I'm not sure if I did, is that we did get this 1-hour inverse fair value gap, which gives me a bullish confluence. This reminds me quite similarly of another day. I don't want to spend too long trying to find this. Oh yeah, here, where we had this bearish gap, which we inversed, but then still dumped and manipulated at the open before delivering a big bullish impulse the other way. So that kind of gives me reminders of that. So that's another reason why I'm looking for longs. So not the cleanest day. I think gold and euro are pretty much a no-go, and then Nasdaq is a go if we get some lower manipulation. I don't want to take shorts, as I said, into such a big gap, but longs could be a good option today. Otherwise, nothing else to say, and I wish myself luck for today.